Hello, good evening. Welcome to the Tunnel Podcast, episode 36 of the greatest podcast in the world, as I always say. Delighted to say I'm joined, as always, by Tom Goff. Tom, how are we doing?
Yeah, I'm all right, thanks, mate. Not too bad. I went on my first run this evening, mate, of 2025 and survived.
Right, how did it go? Was it a 5K or was it a...
It was probably about 5K, I reckon, and I survived, mate.
You're not sharing times just yet, no?
Nah, no sharing times just yet, mate. Just yet. All right, so we'll just take the fact that I'm here doing the pod as a
back
as a
out.
bonus.
No, it's good.
That's
Good. Listen, we're not on our own tonight. We're joined by Nathaniel from to Holland back pod. Nathaniel, thanks for joining us. You know, the clues in the name, obviously, massive Hull supporter. So we are going to be talking all things Hull for the first kind of part of the show. How are you, mate? Thanks for coming along.
Yeah, I'm good. Much better. Of course, we went out of the FA Cup again. That's 4 years in a row now at the third round. And of course, a good away win at Millwall. So, yeah, a little bit more confident after the weekend.
Listen, Doncaster Rovers are my home side. I live in Doncaster, so it was a great day this side of the Humber Bridge, I must say. But we'll come on to that actually, because I don't want to touch on the crowd stuff on that day. But let's kind of strip it back if we can. I'll do a little bit of housekeeping and get the banner up. There we go. Whoever's watching, stick us a comment and get your questions. And if you want to heckle us, do whatever we need, just get better interaction. We love that. So yeah, if we can then, because there's been an exciting season already, maybe for the wrong reason, Nathaniel. Up at the KC, change of manager. We spoke, myself and Tom, at the start of the season about Tim Walter and what might be. And obviously it came to fruition that he was, given his marching orders and Ruben Selles comes in. What have you made to his kind of short start already?
Yeah, I mean, it's possibly the second most interesting managerial change we've had this year, bar Rossini leaving initially, of course. We really needed Tim Walter out earlier than he actually went. The fans had turned against him, which was basically his fault. He was very stubborn and blamed the fans for some of our results. And of course, we lost to Oxford, but the away fans there are singing, "Are we loud enough for you?" He was really unpleasant compared to Ruben Selles, who, gets sort of the young players motivated. We've seen a bit of an uptick in Abu Kamara's performances. At Reading, he'd have to go through a lot of off-pitch issues, and he even didn't get a week's salary at one point, whereas I cannot imagine Tim Walter being the sort of honourable person who people like, and to do that, he'd probably say, no, I want to be paid before anyone else. So from a man management perspective, he really didn't do very well. And he's still not got another job. His career outside of Germany's finished. And I think probably people have realised that his heart attack football is not a good system. It doesn't work really. And Sayers is much more likeable. He's managed all over the world. And with the new manager bounce, there's been a little one, but sometimes you see the manager come in and it's just a motivational thing. There's no tactical change. So they might win the first game or two and then drop off. Whereas I feel like it might be a slow burn of genuine gradual improvement rather than just the new manager's gone, we'll win the first game and then still go down. Whereas I think he's getting these messages across very well so far.
Tom, it was a change that we celebrated on this podcast actually, because we thought it was quite a stellar appointment. It's proven that way early doors.
Yeah, it's interesting to see what Nathaniel's saying about Walter, because I remember we had a few chats about him, didn't we, towards the start of the season, and we were just we just couldn't get our head round as to why he just seemed unwilling to kind of change his approach and tactics, especially when the results weren't coming, and the Hull was struggling to get points. But it sounds like there was a bit of an ego there, hence the reason why he was so unwilling to kind of change his approach and tactics and was so stubborn. So in terms of Selles coming in, like Nathaniel said, he's I think there's definitely been some improvement. Obviously, I was looking back at the results since he came in, and they've won 3, drew 2, and lost 3. So, it's steady improvement, like Nathaniel was saying. But from what I've seen of them on the pitch since he's come in, there's a definite improvement there on the pitch in terms of the output and the performances, and the players in terms of their attitude and responding to Selles and his tactics, etc. So yeah, I was a bit unsure. Like, I remember when he was appointed, and I was saying there's definitely a bit of risk there because he's done a good job at Reading, but obviously in League One. But like Nathaniel said, under very tricky circumstances, he did incredibly well at Reading, all things considered. How's he going to adapt to life in the Championship? Thrown in at the deep end, bottom of the table. But yeah, I think it looks like he's adapting very quickly. It looks like he's kind of got a grip on things. What the Championship, what the Championship off, what it throws up, its difficulties, etc. And I think he's starting to make some progress for sure.
You talk about him having a grip of things. He's certainly got a grip of the media. He controls the media very, very well. Quite stark contrast to his his German counterpart there. So Nathaniel, what difference in style have you seen? I know it's only been a short time. He's been in the building, but have you seen differences on the pitch? Have you seen areas of where you've been a bit more positive and a bit more maybe taking a bit more risk?
Well, under Volta, we were supposed to have really exciting football. Acun Ilıcalı, who's sort of the Turkish Simon Cowell, his money comes from sort of being a media baron in Turkey. He wants exciting football, and allegedly the football under Rossini wasn't exciting, especially at home. We were very slow. And then so Volta was supposed to come in and go gung-ho, and we saw that a little bit. We won the 3 games in a row, and we thought, I remember saying, oh, well, that means we're not going down. We're clearly not that bad a team. And then, of course, ended up bottom of the league. And then it became worse than Rossini ball, even more negative, spending so much time without a midfield as well. So we'd spend all this time playing out from the back. We used to have Micah Seri, of course, who was a great sitting midfield player. So under Rossini, we'd have the goalkeeper, the back four, and Seri passing it around. But you could expect the ball to get to Seri, and then he'd pass it forward and we'd move from there. But under Volta, we didn't have a midfield. So basically we'd go wide, or we'd punt the ball up the pitch after spending 10 minutes passing it around, and then we'd lose it. Whereas now we actually have a midfield, but we are more direct. We can go long. I think that helps a little bit because the players don't quite have the technical ability they had last year, and it's a younger group. They're probably happier to have higher energy levels. Of course, Carl Rushworth, who had been injured, he's a goalkeeper on loan from Brighton. He's come in the last 2 games, so we have seen a little bit more playing out from the back. But now with Rushworth being there, we can see that we're always better suited to that. But yeah, a bit more direct, and considering especially the home performances, I think we won 4 games at home in 2024 under 2 possession-based managers. We're just happy to see a little bit of excitement because we've had that with the 3-3 against Leeds.
Just on that then, because I was going to save that for a little bit later, but you've brought up the changing goalkeeper in the last couple of games. Is that something you think, Rushworth has got the jersey now? Because obviously Pandor, I hope I'm saying his name right, Croatian boys, he played the majority of lion's share pretty much every game up until the FA Cup tie, is that right?
Yeah. It's a bit strange to say that Pandor up until now might be the player of the season, considering he's only kept 2 clean sheets. But really, none of the goals bar 1 against Leeds has been his fault. And then that was from playing out from the back. So I can understand why you want to bring Rushworth in. And to be honest, I think we've been sort of scared into it because at the start of the window as well, Pandor's been playing well. Rushworth's about to become fit, but Brighton want to recall him. Oh, no, we'll sell Rachopi, who's a Swiss goalkeeper we bought in the summer. We don't want him. Well, please let us keep Rushworth. I think that's essentially what happened. But last season, I thought would be proof that, because you see it with Meslier as well, and Edison at times, to be honest. It's better. It is always better to have a goalkeeper that can save a few shots, because if Panda, who's a great shot stopper, was in goal last season, we would have gotten to the playoffs 100%, because Ryan Allsop, though could pass the ball out, was truly dreadful, and he's found his level at Birmingham in League One. That being said, Rushworth's not really made any saves, bar a save in the penalty shootout against Doncaster. So it might turn out that if he drops a clanger, in terms of shot stopping, I'd have Panda straight back in, because last season was proof, I think, that it really just is always better to have a goalkeeper that, can keep the goal, as opposed to be a fifth defensive player to play out from the back.
Tom, we've spoke about goalkeepers, it seems like every week on this show, and that the Championship is absolutely littered with goalkeeping talent. I think it's a great point, and Nathaniel makes it, is you first and foremost get a goalkeeper that can save shots rather than one that can play it with his feet.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I remember when I watched the game when we beat Hull 2-1, at their place early on in the season, and Panda had a good game, and I was quite impressed with him. Whenever I've seen him play, I know Hull have been struggling, down at the bottom of the table, and he's obviously had a lot to do, but he's always impressed me. He's always looked to me, a solid goalkeeper. I was just going to ask the question then. So it's been a tactical change, and has it, with Rushworth, just purely Selles has just brought him in for tactical reasons? Because for me, that seems a bit harsh. Like, and I think it seems like you're in agreement, Nathaniel, and that Panda looks a really solid goalkeeper, has played really well so far this season. Surely he's got to feel a bit aggrieved that he's lost his spot when it sounds like he's not done anything wrong. It seems a bit harsh to me.
I know Rushworth's very good because he was Swansea's player of the season last year, I think. So it's not like an Allsop situation. I don't think Rushworth's supposed to be, have no arms, essentially, like Allsop did towards the end of last season. But it does seem very harsh to me. And plus, though we do love to spend money, and we will spend a huge amount again in the summer and maybe finish 17th or something. Panda is our player, whereas Rushworth is on loan from Brighton and will probably go to Leicester or Southampton or whoever when they get relegated inevitably. Just seems to be what happens. So Panda had made one mistake playing out from the back since about August. I feel like it might have just been better to keep him net. He's trusted by the manager and by the defence. He's been our best player. It does seem harsh. If we stay up, then fair enough. And I think Rushworth is good. But for the future, we spend this money on Panda. He plays so well. And then I think he's going to be a bit annoyed that Rushworth on loan comes in, is immediately back from injury and goes straight in.
You say if we stay up, surely it's when we stay up now. You're out that relegation zone. That you've got to just start looking up now rather than behind.
Well, we spent about the third or fourth most in the summer. We signed 16 players, I think maybe 18, including the free agents we got in September, and we were rock bottom. So I know we've spent more money in January, but I'm still not happy to say that all the players we've signed now are going to keep us up, because I thought that in the summer. So I still have to put if. Plus, they can all get injured, that's what tends to happen.
Tom, you think once that win at the weekend was quite a statement win? Not many people go to the Den, especially when you're struggling and take all three. Add to that, keep a clean sheet as well.
Yeah, I think they're the kind of a 1-0 win away at Millwall. I watched the extended highlights. Didn't watch the game, but I watched the extended highlights, and it didn't look the most pretty of games. I don't think there was many chances. Obviously, Hull's goal came from an own goal, but I think sometimes winning a game like that can do more for the team, in the situation that Hull are in at this moment in time than, maybe a kind of comfortable win at home. Because like you said, Millwall away is notoriously difficult place to go. You've really got to scrap and grind and work hard, haven't you, to get anything from there. And I think the whole fans as well. Nathaniel will obviously chip in and say, but it just shows that the players, are one, obviously fighting for the manager and the badge on the shirt. They're going to places like Millwall, they're giving it everything, putting their bodies on the line, working incredibly hard to try and get the 3 points. So yeah, it's like you said, on paper it doesn't look like anything special, but I think you're right, Rob. It is a bit of a statement win, and I'm sure Selles would have been absolutely chuffed to get the 3 points, and like you said, get the clean sheet as well. I think it was a really important win for them, and they'll be looking now to try and build on that and push on in the next few fixtures they've got coming up.
Listen, you speak about Selles, and after the match he said, "I see a team that's evolving in the way we want to evolve. We're playing with a lot of attributes, but also with the passion, character, and intensity we want." Nathaniel, in a short time, you can see the body of work that he's putting out, and he seems to be seeing it going in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a good manager. I think a lot of other clubs, probably maybe West Brom, after losing Corberan, would have liked him in at some point as well, and I'd much rather have him than Alex Neil if that's the way his teams play at the weekend. Millwall weren't very good, but of course a difficult place to go nonetheless. Yeah, there's been an improvement, and as I said, I imagine we can probably get a bit better. There's still a few players that are injured, like Charlie Hughes, Casey Palmer, who's doing quite well before he got injured, to come in. But I just still don't really want to say that we're going to stay up, because no one expected us to be in our position. And a lot of the signings, it's not like a Fabio Carvalho is going to come in like last season and score lots of goals. But
just on that, then you say no one expected us to be in that position. But what were your kind of expectations then to start the season? Where did you kind of think you were going to be at this time of the season?
Of course, we had a playoff push last year, and really, I know we had that sort of amazing squad from January onwards. We actually did worse in the second half of the season than the first half. Players like Giles, who's pretty much soon to be announced going back to Middlesbrough, underperformed. Anas Aruri from Burnley underperformed. But yeah, I didn't expect us to get playoffs and build on it. I thought, even if we finish mid-table, I know we've spent all this money. It's a lot of young players. I think if you're not a parachute payment club, you probably want to sort of have a playoff push maybe every 2 years, because you can't quite afford to go for it every year. So I thought maybe mid-table, top 10 would be decent, top half, that's fine. Even if we finish low mid-table with Volta, they're all young. Let's just go for it the season after and give a lot of the young players a bit of time to progress. But yeah, relegation was definitely up the table, because we've spent a lot more. I mean, Luton, for example, I think we've actually spent more than them. Of course, I think it just shows that you really do have to spend a fair bit of money, and on the right people. You can't just rely on last season. But yeah, we lost Morton, Delap, Carvalho, Greaves, Zaruri, Philogene, Tufan, Seri. So obviously we were not going to finish as high as last year.
Listen, just on that, I think Aberdeen have probably spent more than Luton this season. Look, they've kept the purse strings tight, haven't they, trying to get this new ground sorted. Tom, let's just shift it slightly then towards this January window and the business that is getting done. Matt Crooks has come in, who's actually his birthday today. Happy birthday, Matt! I know you watch. And then we've got Joe Gerhardt as well, and Amrabat's older brothers coming. 37, but he seemed to have added something at the weekend. Seemed to get a bit of a rave review when he came on. So, what are you making of the business that is getting done? And it seems to be smart business as well.
Yeah, I quite like the additions of Geldhart and Crooks. I think we spoke last time round, didn't we? About in the last pod about the addition of Geldhart and Crooks. In that, I think Geldhart had a good spell on loan with Sunderland a couple of seasons back, so there's he's got the ability, he's got the potential to be a good player at this level. And the same goes for Crooks. Obviously, when he was at Middlesbrough, he had a a really good spell when he was at Middlesbrough. You know, he was chipping up with a lot of goals as well when he was there. So, yeah, whilst they're not kind of, super exciting signings, I think they're solid signings for this level. Yeah, I'm not too sure about Amrabat. He's obviously getting on a little bit, hasn't he? I haven't heard his name for a while, and then obviously I saw him kind of, the move was made, on a short-term deal. But yeah, I quite like the signs of Geldar and Crooks. It seems, there's this young lad from Monaco, which I think probably is a bit more of an exciting signing, in that, Monaco are obviously a big, European club, one of the big hitters in France. Central midfielder, 22 years of age. I think what I was reading earlier, spending about 2.5 million, I think, from what I read in the papers. So splashing a bit of cash. At this level, 2.5 million. It's not short change. So that looks quite an exciting signing. This guy sounds like he's got some potential from what he's read. Carl Joseph, I'm not too sure about that one, in that, again, I think I saw that you're kind of spending around 2.5 million for him. I know he's scored a few goals in League One this season. I think he's got about 8 or 9 goals so far. It's always a risk, isn't it? It's always a risk, kind of, that step up from League One to Championship. Look, sometimes it comes off, and you can find a real gem, and they can kind of take to Championship for football instantly, and kind of hit the ground running. Look at the lads from Stoke at the weekend. He was on loan at Walsall in League Two, and there's kind of question marks about Lowe and whether he could make the step up. So yeah, look, it's definitely a bit of risk there, but he's a young lad again. I think he's 23 years of age, so it's a signing with potential, and looking forward to the future. And I think probably Selles probably knows him from his time with Reading in League One. So yeah, I think they're this is just from an outsider looking in. Obviously, Nathaniel will give us his opinion, but it looks to me like they're doing some solid business. Like I said, nothing that kind of like screams, wow, yes, what a signing. Like, some of the guys that you were signing last season, Carvalho on loan, it's definitely not in the same bracket as those guys. But I think in terms of bringing guys through the door who are gonna boost your chances of staying up. Like I said, I quite like the addition of Geldart and Crooks. I think they'll do well for you. And then, the two lads that sound close. All right, there's a bit of risk and a bit of uncertainty there, but they're both two young lads, highly rated. There's a bit of excitement there. I feel, they could do really well also.
Nathaniel, is that a point that Tom makes, actually, in stark contrast maybe the players that were coming in last season? You've got Crooks and Gelhardt that have probably got a point to prove, and then the two younger players that he's mentioned at the back end of that. There are players coming in that are young and they've got potential that maybe Selles thinks he can get more out of. So are you excited by this? They seem to be getting the business done early as well. You're identifying targets, nailing them on, and getting them in.
Yeah, I mean that was a difficulty in the summer. We actually agreed deals with Kiefer Moore and Thomas Asante, although apparently they've both been really rubbish this year, so maybe good to dodge those. But yeah, January, I know they're about, is it 12 days? Is it the 2nd of February? It's the window closes, so doing a little bit better. Breaking news: Carl Joseph has literally just been officially announced by the club, so that's good to have on the pod there.
Love that.
Yeah, I wasn't too excited about the signing of Gelhardt. I mean, compared to the promises we had in the summer, maybe we were going to sign Fofana from Chelsea on a permanent deal in the summer, and that fell through. I understand, of course, we're lower down the table, so we're not going to spend big on a player like that. We wanted Tom Cannon as well, didn't get him. But I'm much happier about the idea of having Gelhardt on loan as a sort of inside forward and a winger, where Sayers sees him, because he's not really a major goal scorer. And I think, again, that word if, depending on what league we're actually in, I think the signing of Joseph makes sense. That's a long-term solution. We don't usually spend very much on strikers, but we've got Mason Burstow on a permanent from Chelsea in the summer, and Joseph now. They've both got a chance to sort of be the understudy to João Pedro, who's been our top scorer this season and is physically past it, but still has great ability, and that's why probably we were able to sign him, because if he could run, he would not be in the Championship.
I think the question I was going to ask you, Nathaniel, was that obviously all these guys that you're being linked to are kind of vast majority of them are attackers. You know, I think bar the lad from Monaco who's kind of a traditional number 8 central midfielder. I know obviously there's still a bit of the transfer window to go yet, but it seems like he's very much concentrating on attack and trying to score more goals maybe. And maybe not so much in defence. Do you think that's the case? Do you think he's happy with the defenders that he's got available to him, or do you think he needs to be dipping into the market to reinforce your defence as well? Just wondering what your take is.
Yeah, the priority was definitely getting more goals in, and we've got Gelhardt and Lincoln Crooks who can play as a number 10. We've got Joseph as well, so the goals are probably covered at this point. We do want a centre back and a left back. We do need a left back because Ryan Giles is going to go back to Middlesbrough. So I think, a left back, it's been a problem position for us since maybe Andy Robertson all those years ago. We had Stephen Kingsley, who was always injured. Callum Elder was part of a very poor team that went down, and then Jacob Greaves has probably been our best left back since Robertson left, and of course he was a centre back, but he played left back occasionally. So we need one. I think it will just be a temporary one on loan from the Premier League, and I think we want a centre back as well. But McLaughlin's improved a bit. He was probably the man of the match at Millwall, and then young Finn Burns on loan from Man City played quite well against Millwall as well. And Alfie Jones has improved under Sayers a lot. So I think those centre-backs and Charlie Hughes to come back, I'm not really sure whether a centre-back should be on our top of the list. I think a left-back, certainly. I think we've got Coyle and Drama at right-back. That's fine. And, Matozo from Monaco, I think if he can sit in front of the back four, maybe let Alzate loose a bit further up front to create, because I think he's our most technically gifted player. I think a left-back, probably the last signing we need after this mystery extensive Championship experience winger gets done on the permanent deal. We don't know who that is yet, but apparently we're just waiting on something on the other club's side to get sorted.
Listen, you mentioned Jones there. He made Team of the Week this week, and he's been getting rave reviews, so long may that continue. Just finally on the transfer stuff, you mentioned Tom Cannon there, and people may scoff the fact you threw your hat into that ring, okay? Also, there was links as well to Morgan Whittaker, maybe a week or so ago as well. Look, whether it's pie in the sky and you're never going to get these players in, is it nice to still be, know you're in that market and know that the owner's actually backing the manager if he wants to go and get those kind of players?
Yeah, I mean, we've probably spent, I think Joseph and Tozo will probably put that over 20 million euros at the very least, if you go off what Transfermarkt says, which I don't know whether you can. He's still backing the manager. We're definitely spending a lot to just make sure, even if we scrape 21st, that we are in the league, so we can probably push on and have a playoff push next season, which I think could be more likely under Sayers. I think the Whittaker one, we're obviously going to inquire, but after the goal he scored at Brentford, that value's probably gone up a little bit. We wanted Cannon on a permanent deal in the summer, and the reason we didn't get him is because Leicester only wanted to loan him. But then we were going to spend over £5 million for Farner. So I'm not surprised that we've still been linked to this sort of player. But in terms of the really marquee signings, you're going to have to wait for the summer for those. But there's a good bit of business. We are always signing the Fenerbahce fringe players we can get, because our owner is on the board at Fenerbahce as well. So Lincoln, Enrique, Brazilian attacking midfielder, we're getting from Fenerbahce as well. And those are really hit and miss. Tufan was really good. The rest of them have been pretty bad. But João Pedro, again, he was a free agent. He played there. He's our top scorer. So it's a risk, but I guess it's worth doing. And financially, we've spent a huge amount. We've not really seen it pay off. It's a risk. But as a fan, it's quite exciting, because before we had the new owner, it was basically well, we're either going to sign that free agent player from Peterborough or that free agent player from Doncaster, because Grant McCann would only sign players he'd already played with. So it's much better than that.
Listen, never a dull moment, certainly. Okay, listen, we'll park the whole stuff for a moment. We may mention them in a moment or two, but I want to shift the focus a little bit to the rest of the league if we can for the second part of the show, Tom. Michael Carrick. I was shocked at the weekend. I sent it straight to you as I seen it. You and I talk quite regularly in the evening when these games are being played in the afternoon. Those polls going round from Borough fans saying, is he taking it as far as he can? I was quite aghast at that. I'm not going to lie. But you said, maybe you could understand that.
Yeah, I can understand it a little bit. I do think that you look at the players that that Middlesbrough have got available to them. I think they've got a great squad. For this level, and I've kind of obviously praised Carrick in the past in that when his Middlesbrough team are on form, they're a test for anybody at this level. The teams at the top, they can beat anyone on their day, but they've just got this weird kind of inconsistent side to them that is quite difficult to kind of get your head round, because like I said, you'll watch them one week and they'll be absolutely fantastic and give the division's best a real game and get something. But then, they'll kind of, what they did at the weekend, go away to Pompey. You expecting them to go and get 3 points, and they've lost 2-1. It's odd. Yeah, I think that the teams that are at the top, Leeds, Burnley, Sheffield United, I think those three, look, they've got the two of them have obviously got the parachute payments. Financially, they're in a better position than Borough, but I do feel like Borough's squad, I do feel like they should be kind of sitting a bit more pretty in the league, more points on the board, better position within the playoffs. I was kind of having a little dive into their kind of form over Christmas, and I think what's quite worrying is you look at some of the teams, they seem to, that inconsistency, it seems to kind of come against teams towards the bottom. So whether it's some sort of, maybe they're just, there's a bit of arrogance there that that they're going into these games that they, it's kind of expected that they're going to go and win easily and get 3 points. I don't know, but I was looking over the Christmas New Year period. They've dropped points to Portsmouth, Cardiff. They just beat Hull literally with the last kick of the game. They drew with Plymouth as well. So, they're dropping points against teams, that they really should be, getting victories over.
Let's not mention, forget, sorry, that 3-0 up against Sheffield Wednesday, and then they draw that game.
That's it as well. Like, on paper, Sheffield Wednesday are obviously having a half decent season, but you're right. They were 3-0 up, absolutely cruising, 45 minutes of the game to play, and they threw that away as well. So it's like I said, it's odd because it's not like they've had an absolute load of injuries. It's not like they're riddled with injuries. Hence, there's a kind of dip in form. I know they lost Conway when he was really starting to pick up and score some goals, but they've got Latte Laugh as a replacement. It's not like they've got a really top striker they've been able to bring in to replace him. So I think maybe calling for his head is a bit harsh at this moment in time, but I think I can understand why there's some frustration there because I do feel like they should have more points on the board. They have got this weird inconsistency where they seem to up their game when they come up against the better teams in the division, so to speak. But then, like I said, when they the teams that were kind of towards the bottom turn up, they struggle for some reason. So it's a weird one. I think I agree with you, Robin, that to get rid of him at this moment in time would be bonkers, because I do rate Carrick. I do think he's a very good young head coach. I think he's only
It's
going to
only
continue to
weeks
get
ago he
better.
was getting linked to West Ham.
Yeah, that's it. I do think, I really rate him. I really do. But yeah, there's just obviously something not right, and he's obviously not being able to kind of to sort that out for whatever reason. Maybe January transfer window, maybe a couple of additions, is what they need. I'm not sure. Like I said, I look at their team, I look at their bench. I think they've got a great squad for this level, and yeah, I feel they should be sitting a bit prettier in the division, in my opinion.
Nathaniel, 6 points from possible 15, but still just 1 point outside the playoffs. It maybe tells its own story. Obviously, you'll have seen them, of late. You played them obviously on New Year's Day. What do you make about it? Do you agree with what Tom's saying? I saw you shaking your head at one point.
Yeah, I think Michael Carrick's a good young coach. They do usually beat us. Middlesbrough, probably a team a bit like us, trying to be there and thereabouts. Of course, we're not, but with the money we've spent, you would imagine us to be. And but then, of course, it just shows it doesn't matter how much money you spend or how many players you've got. Even to be seventh, like Rossini last season, and to sack Carrick and seventh would be a bit ridiculous. They do have a better squad than Blackburn. I think the teams you look at in the playoffs right now, you would imagine Middlesbrough would probably be able to finish the season stronger than Blackburn, who I think may, find out that or not be able to be that consistent, because I think they're overperforming a little bit with their squad. So yeah, Middlesbrough probably should be in the playoffs, but at the moment it's 1 point. So I would imagine they could probably do it if they can keep Latte, because I know Ipswich, they want to sign him, I think, or they did in the summer, because they love to sign our former players as well and good championship players. Yeah, I think Carrick's a good young coach, and coming from a fan who has suffered from a good young coach being sacked, undeservedly so, I wouldn't really wish the same on Middlesbrough. Though them beating us in the last minute and then losing at Portsmouth, I'm not a big fan of that, because we need, teams that are supposed to be good at the top of the table beat the teams around us. Thank you very much.
Love that. Tom, just to come back to you then, because you've obviously questioned maybe mentality, if I've picked you up right. And then, Nathaniel links, Latte. He's been linked to a few clubs over the last few weeks.
Atlanta, yeah.
Ben Doak's been linked to a couple. Finn Azaz is always under the watchful eye of scouts. Is that maybe an issue as well for Carrick? He's got all this pool of talent, and they've been linked to Tom, Dick, and Harry every other week, rather than trying to focus on what he's trying to do, at the Riverside.
Yeah, I think any championship team, it's just kind of, it's just the situation we find ourselves in, isn't it? Is that there's obviously bigger fish out there. You're talented players. You're always going to be worried about, like I said, bigger fish coming in and taking them away from you. I think the one thing with Middlesbrough is that they are quite sensibly run. So I do think, some of those guys you've just mentioned, I do think, it's going to take big money really for them for Middlesbrough to sell. But yeah, from what I've read, I think there is definitely some truth to the Latte rumours. Like you said, I think there's a few teams interested in him, some teams on the continent, teams that are in Europe. So, that could potentially happen. And yeah, with Conway out injured as well, that would be a huge loss for him. So yeah, he's going to be worried. I wouldn't be surprised, to see them make a couple of good additions in this window. I know they haven't done anything as of yet, but as Nathaniel said, they're looking at bringing Giles back, who I know it hasn't worked. It hasn't worked for him at Hull, but he has proven in the past that he can be a good player at this level. Yeah, I was just going to mention earlier that it's going to be really interesting. I was looking at their next 5 games, and they've got us obviously tomorrow night. They've got West Brom, Preston away, Sunderland at home, Sheffield United away, and then Watford at home. So you take Preston out of the equation. 4 of those games are either teams chasing the playoffs or chasing automatic promotion. When this will be the proof, because I wouldn't put it past them. Us coming back and doing a pod after those games are played, and they've picked up and they've put plenty of points on the board because, like I said, they seem to always raise their game against the better teams in the divisions. So it's going to be intriguing to see how they do in these games, because then it's clearly evident then, isn't it, that for whatever reason the issue is them coming up against the teams who are sat down towards the bottom. But why? What? Like I said, perhaps it's mentality. I don't know. You'd like to think that they weren't arrogant enough. I don't know whether it's in terms of how they approach games, and those teams are maybe approaching games sitting off. I don't know, but they are finding it incredibly difficult to pick up points against the teams towards the bottom than against the teams at the top. Maybe they prefer teams attacking them, coming forward, and then them exploiting that. Maybe it's a case of them struggling against teams who are maybe looking to frustrate, sit deeper, and kind of nick a goal on the counter or from a set piece, etc. That might be it. I don't know. But whatever the reason is, I feel like, he's got to sort it out, because I know you're right. They're only 1 point outside the playoffs. But, you look at that run over Christmas and New Year, I definitely feel like Borough fans will be kicking themselves thinking, we should have pulled away a little bit from that 7th place in the division, with who we've played and who we've got on the horizon. We should be clear, sat pretty in the playoffs, even, potentially closer to the teams at the top, the guys who are challenging for automatic, because at one point there wasn't much difference between those teams at the top and Middlesbrough. But like you said, six points from 15, they've really dropped off, and it's cost them. So yeah, I don't think that it's the time now to get rid of Carrick, but if they continue to kind of stutter and they pull even further away from those playoff spots, then I definitely feel that the Borough owners might have to have at least a discussion about it, because I do think them not making the playoffs this season will be it will be a huge failure on their behalf. I honestly do.
Catastrophic. You heard it here first. The Borough don't make the playoffs. Okay, then Nathaniel, we'll come over to you then, because your next game is QPR. We were going to spend a bit of time talking about QPR because they're up to 12th now. They've actually picked up some really good form, and myself and Tom spoke maybe 6-7 weeks ago about keeping Cifuentes, because there was talk of him maybe losing his job when others around him were. Yeah, and the likes of Rooney, the likes of Walter as well. So QPR kept their man, and they're starting to see the benefits of that. They actually they played really well at the weekend against Plymouth. They've got some really exciting younger players as well, and he seems to be getting a tune out of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, QPR are a weird team. I think, was it 2 years ago, they were top in October. I think they won 2 games in about 20, which is a dreadful run, but not as bad as one of the runs we've had in the last few years, which I always thought about. But then, Cifuentes, I'm surprised that it probably just shows what you can do when you just keep a manager. Even if they're doing really poorly, they can get to the point where they can finally get the messages across in the way they want to. Right now on a really good run. The last 2 times we've played QPR at the MKM Stadium, we've won 3-0. I doubt we'd probably be able to do the same considering the form they're in. Probably a bit late for a playoff push, but it's a championship, you never know. I wouldn't really expect them to go on a push like that, but they seem like a bit of a streaky team. It might be a bit of a bad time to play them. And Cifuentes has done well to get out of that rut, and it's just good to see, to be honest, because I don't really think, if you compare the amount of time that goes into recruitment and the idea that you can't just sign any random player, you've got to have a recruitment plan and plan a few years into the future, yet teams, especially in the EFL, sack a manager every 6 months, maybe if they start poorly every 3 months. How is that useful? So you have to spend a bit of time at a club, a year or two, to finally get a squad that you want.
No, I would agree with you. I think it's continuity. Reaps its rewards eventually. Not all the time, but most of the time. Tom, you look at them at the weekend. I heard them after the game just saying, that they were solid. They just wished they'd scored more. Said it's good problems to have with selection in terms of players that are available to him and who he's trying to fit in those attacking areas. And he said that everyone's contributing as well. Now, young Ryan Coley seems to be grabbing the headlines at the moment. He signed a new contract in the week, gets his 5th goal of the season, took it really well. Also, it seems to be a bit more of a better outlook at the minute at the club.
Well, yeah, definitely, mate. I didn't realise how good their run has been. So since I was doing a bit of looking at the stats and whatnot. Since the 9th of November, where they lost 2-0 to Leeds, they've played 12, they've won 7, drew. Won 6. Sorry, drew 4 and lost 1. So they've just been absolutely incredible. Lost 1 in their last 12 games, and like you said, they've obviously gone from relegation zone to 35 points. I think 4 points off the playoffs, 4 or 5 points, something like that off the playoffs. So it's just absolutely unbelievable what they've done. And like you and me, we said a few times, even though they were struggling at the start of the season, they were performing well. They weren't getting the kind of rub of the green. They were competing in matches, just losing by the odd goal. And yeah, we kind of said that, there's obviously a good manager there in Cifuentes, and that, if they can stick with him, we felt that they could kind of pull away from the championship. I didn't expect them to go on the run that they have done. And like Nathaniel says, can they get in the playoffs? I personally, I don't think, I think the amount of teams that are kind of in there, and the Boroughs, ourselves, the Watfords, I think it'll be difficult for them. But there's always a team, isn't there, in the championship that just
comes from nowhere.
Just comes from nowhere, goes on a bit of a bonkers run. They, it just riding the crest of that wave, and if they're that team at this moment in time, aren't they? I know there's still a hell of a lot of games to play in the championship, but they're just absolutely flying in a minute. And yeah, you're right. The young lad Coley, the emergence of him has done wonders for him. I think Ilias Chair as well, coming back for him.
He's a talent. He's a really good player. On his days, he's a really good player.
On his days, he's probably one of the best attacking midfielders in the division. So, him coming back was absolutely massive for him. I think some of the signings that they made at the start of the season, we're finally starting to adapt to championship football, getting to grips with it a bit better. So, yeah, they're looking great at the moment. And like Nathaniel says, I don't think anybody would want to come up against them at this moment in time. Yeah, I know they wouldn't.
Just can I put this to you then? Because all it takes is another couple of weekends like we've just had, where the guys in and around the playoffs were losing matches. Borough lost, Blackburn lost, and QPR are one of them sides that you just feel could beat anyone at the minute. So, do they worry you? Because there's 2 slots left, 5th and 6th for these playoffs. You would have to say you're obviously going for one of them yourselves in West Brom. Would QPR worry you slightly?
They do a bit, because, like I said, they're just on this great run at this moment in time. Your confidence is sky high, and it's like we spoke about Middlesbrough, how inconsistent they've been. Ourselves, we've been really inconsistent of late. Well, throughout the season, really. We had a good run at the start, but been really inconsistent since. Again, Watford, Blackburn. All these teams are struggling to put a bit of form together, a good run of games. They're kind of winning one, drawing one, losing one. They're the only team in the division, I feel, at the moment, maybe other than Oxford as well, who are on a good run at this moment in time, who are, like I said, just kind of in form, not losing hardly any games, and just flying up the table. Yeah. And I was looking at the games they've got coming up. They've obviously got Hull. They've got Sheffield Wednesday, Millwall, Blackburn and Coventry. That's their next 5. Now, look, we all know how difficult the championship is. Everyone can beat anyone on their day. There's no easy game. But on paper, you'd rather be coming up against some of those teams than the likes of Leeds, Burnley, Sheffield United, wouldn't you? So,
they're looking at those thinking we can win those games 100%.
100%. The way they're playing, the form they're in, especially at home, they're formidable at home at this moment in time. they'll be fancying their chances of winning all those matches. So, yeah, I'm not saying it's impossible. I definitely think it is possible. I just think, I'm going to say it now. I'm kind of expecting this run to kind of end at some point, but it's not showing no signs of it. Every week I kind of think, well, I'll keep it. Oh, they've won again. Okay, yeah, like I said, I couldn't believe in the last 12 they've only lost once. That's balmy. They've won 7, in fact. Sorry, I got it wrong. They've won 7 out of the last 12. They've only lost once. So bonkers, absolutely flying.
You stop letting your daughter write your notes before the pod. That's why you couldn't read that, wasn't it? It's in Crayola. Nathaniel, we'll switch over just to midweek then, because we're in the home straight towards the end of the pod. So pick out some games and have a chat about them. The first one I want to bring up is obviously it's Swansea, Sheffield United. Sheffield United got a chance to go back top, albeit just for 24 hours. Swansea were on the wrong side of an absolute doom in the South Wales derby at the weekend. You can't see anything but an away win they're given as well. The announcement of Ben Brayton Diaz earlier on today, which for me could be a promotion winning signing, really.
Yeah. So is this for me?
Yeah, for you, mate. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Brayton Diaz. He's basically him and Cameron Archer just swapped between a good Championship club and a very bad Premier League squad at the moment. So yeah, that would be a very good signing for them. I think they're clearly having quite a good season up front. I'm not sure whether they can rely on Campbell and Moore. So him and Tom Cannon could be very good signings. So I think they want him as well. Another poor result, of course, the Swansea one. There's been a bunch of those mentioned so far that I'm not appreciating. Robinson just decides to become, prime Pele anytime he plays, just of course because it would affect us. I think Swansea are a decent team, but you certainly look at teams like QPR. I think that they have about 1 or 2 more points than Swansea, or around the same position.
They've got 1 more point than Swansea. Yes, Swansea on 34, they're on 35.
I like Cullen, but Swansea always seem like a team that care more about their image and the style of football that they play than actually, where they finish in the table. So, not a huge fan of Swansea myself. Sheffield United, I would imagine, to win that. Yeah,
absolutely. Tom, let's come to you then, because it's obviously it's the big one for you up at the Riverside. Mowbray's announced he's in. You've got him. You've got your man finally. We spoke on the last pod about he was coming. It's been announced obviously over the weekend before we've had a chance to come on and speak about it. I know you're delighted. You're happy as well with obviously the announcement today about the backroom staff as well. You're just trying to see obviously what he can do between now and the end of the season.
Yes, mate. Yeah, like I said, we kind of discussed it in the last pod, didn't we? Because it was all pretty much done and dusted. So yeah, I'm really pleased with the appointment. I think it's a good appointment for this moment in time. It's kind of brought the fan base together as well, which I think it's it was a good move in that sense. In that there was, like you said, there was a few murmurs. There was a few people getting a bit disgruntled with Corberán. I wasn't one of them, but in terms of style of play and, like I said, the kind of inconsistencies this season. But yeah, Mowbray's got a history with the club, but I think he's always done well with teams at this level. So yeah, I'm happy with the appointment. Yeah, interested to see what he does tomorrow, because he wasn't calling the shots against Stoke. This will be his first game where he's calling the shots. So I'm interested to see what team he goes with. Again, it just kind of ties into what I was saying earlier with Borough, in that it's which one you're going to get. Like I said, they always seem to up their game against the better teams, the teams who are who are sat towards the top end of the division. So on that basis, they're gonna beat us tomorrow. But I'm hoping that we're up for it. The guys are looking to impress Mowbray. Obviously, both teams are vying for a playoff spot. So I'm hoping it just makes for an entertaining game. I think it will do. Mowbray team, he likes to attack. Mowbray does, and so does Carrick. So I'm hoping for a few goals.
Are you concerned about your lack of number 9?
Oh yeah, definitely. I don't want to harp on too much, but this window we've absolutely got to replace Josh Meyer, because he was pivotal to to everything we were doing, really, obviously going forward. So we've got to replace him in this transfer window. But I trust our new owners. I know we haven't got millions and millions to spend, but I do trust them to bring in another striker to replace Meyer, and hopefully they can fill his boots, because they are big boots to fill. So, but yeah, I'm feeling positive at the moment, mate, and looking forward to tomorrow's game. I'd take a point for sure. That's what I'm going to go for. I reckon we're going to
you know what you that's the same vibe you gave that night up at Sunderland. You know, and so could well happen. Nathaniel, final word from you then on your game tomorrow night. It would be remiss of us not to discuss it. We've just been talking about QPR for the last 20 minutes. Is that one you see going right to the wire, being nip tuck, or do you see you getting draw 3 points?
Yeah, I'm a bit nervous about it. Of course, we've only won 4 games in the whole of 2024 at home. I think we have the worst home record in the league. Even if we were to win 2 games, that would still put us in the bottom 3. And normally those home away tables are quite congested in terms of the points. So it shows just how poor we've been, that we're sort of all the way at the bottom. Although away from home, yet again, we're sort of pushing for the playoffs in 10th, which is nice. So I can just dream. I hope we can play away every week. A bit nervous. You say Millwall would be a statement win. I think, considering how poor our home form's been, and I've been the poor person who's had to watch most of it, I would say actually beating QPR, backing up a good win against Millwall would be a real statement against a team in form. That would push us up to about 19th, 18th, the highest we've been for many months now, and I would certainly think that would sort of push us on. And just to throw a stat out there, the reason I'm kind of worried about whether we'll get the wins to stay up is the home form's been bad, and the games we need to win against because we're in the bottom half, so the other 11 teams in the bottom half, we have 8 of them to play at home. So most teams would be like, yes, it's in our hands. At home, we'll make the MKM a fortress, but we always lose at home. So it concerns me. But yeah, I think maybe some of the new signings, maybe Carl Joseph, again, he's been announced tonight. Maybe he'll get the winner off the bench. I'll go a tight 2-1.
Love that optimism. Okay then, lads. That's a decent hour of it. Listen, if you've watched, a few of you have been watching throughout, leave us a comment, leave us a like, subscribe, all that jazz. Tom, as always, thanks for joining us. Nathaniel, great to get some club insight from Hull. You're welcome back on any time. And yeah, we will enjoy the midweek fixture. We'll be back on Thursday night, myself and Tom. We'll see if we can rustle up anyone else. In the meantime, I'm at Hillsborough tomorrow night, so if you do see me, say hello. But in the meantime, enjoy the rest of your evening. Thanks very much.